Best music in Oswego, guarantee. Welcome to the Nerd Herd, all you geeks, dorks, freaks, and other names alike. My name is Dan Corlett, and this week we are without Curtis, but right here with me is Seamus. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. We got all of your information that you need, fandom and nerdy. So let's get right into what we call the data bank. So the data bank is where we update you with all of the big news of the week that pertains to nerd stuff, right? So this is basically when we fill you in with all that in our area of expertise. And we're going to start, obviously, with the big one this week, which is Fortnite, okay? This past week, Epic Games stunned the world, or whoever is still on their servers, when they cut off the access to the Fortnite game lobby and replaced it with a loop of an animated black hole. And this is how they signified and celebrated the end of the 10th season of the game. An unprecedented move, totally shutting off the game for a promotional stunt. But Fortnite being Fortnite, somehow this has worked. I mean, this is what they see. So, Seamus, was this excessive or was this brilliant?
I'm going to go on a limb. I'm going to say it's excessively brilliant.
God.
Yes. Because, listen, you know, Epic Games knows their audience, and knowing your audience is half of the battle. So they know that their audience is a bunch of whiny little kids. So what's the best way to get a whiny little kid's attention? You take their toys away.
Yeah.
So by taking their toys away, they know that they're going to only get people to talk about the game. And it worked perfectly. Now Season 11, or Chapter 2, is out, and it's blowing up streams all over again. The 11 people who watch it on Mixer, and the thousands who watch it everywhere else.
Shout out to Ninja. I agree. I think taking things away makes people want it, obviously. That's not like a crazy, it's not mind-blowing. Like, but I will say that not just taking it away, but it's, I mean, because it's still there. They have the game, it's still there. They just shut it off. Right?
Yeah.
So it's basically when your parents put you in timeout, right? Okay, so they put the whole world in timeout, and then we're just like, psych, here's a whole new game. I think what they're doing, now they're just directly competing with Apex. Whatever Apex does brave first, they're going to do second. So Apex gets a new map, Fortnite gets a new map, and they're doing it in a way that kids love, and that's their market.
Another very childish business tactic is just taking from others.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
Okay.
All right, so the Lion King remake recently snuck past Frozen to take its place as the highest-grossing animated film of all time. A huge accomplishment that surely can't be tainted. Just kidding. In a recent interview with GQ, Sir Elton John wrote that the songs for the 1994 original Lion King were a huge disappointment. The songs that he wrote in the 1994 original Lion King did not translate well and was a huge disappointment in the remake. And he said that he believed that they messed it up completely. The Rocket Man himself says that he wished he worked more directly with the movie's music, and cites the lack of impact on record sales as evidence. Dan, what do you make of all this?
So as the resident the Disney person, right, I want to start with this. I didn't even go see that movie. I didn't see that. I didn't see Aladdin. There's no point in it, right?
Lucky you.
Because you're just comparing it. Like, I don't like that, right? But I've heard the music and I hate it. It's just, it doesn't, like, much like the animation, there's no soul. There's nothing to it for me that connects me to the song or the story. It's just a publicity stunt, right? And I know that doing it again opened the door for more opportunity to make money, but it didn't even chart.
And it's not even just a lack of talent, because you have Beyonce, Childish Gambino. Like, there's really, really good artists that are in that movie and sing in that movie. And Seth Rogen, too. He's there. And,
okay.
But I think that you're completely right. And, like, the fact that they wanted to take this song from Scar away from this movie only shows how little they actually cared about the music.
Wait, did they take away
They
Be
wanted
Prepared?
to. They wanted to take away Be Prepared.
Okay,
and then
that's one
because
of my favorite
like
moments.
Early reactions weren't positive enough, so they put it back in.
Yeah, that's awful. All right. Okay, so we're going to break. Actually, no, we have one more story. So one of the biggest trends in mobile gaming is the Pokemon Go craze. All right, so when it was announced, people went wild and people started playing the game. And earlier this year, the same company who made that made a Wizarding World of Harry Potter game, Harry Potter Wizards Unite. How this game works is it basically uses Google Street View, and it uses your phone to trace your location and echolocate you up to 13 times a minute. Now, Niantic, the company who makes the game, ensures us that they're not using this information for any malpurpose or selling it. But we've been told that before, Facebook. So now the question is, are we safe to play these games? Because the Pokemon Go is just as big as it ever was, and they're doubling up on their audience by getting the Harry Potter crowd. So, Seamus, do we have anything to worry about this, or is this standard operating procedure for the day we live in?
I really think that, unfortunately, our phones are being tracked anyway. And that everything that we do is being tracked regardless. If this is going to let you catch a side duck or whatever easier, then I understand why they're doing it. But at the same time, if you don't want this kind of thing happening to you, if you don't want to have this kind of technology on your person, then don't.
Oh, well, yeah. And for me, so I played Pokemon Go a little bit when it first came out. I'm not on it anymore. But I do have the Harry Potter one because I feel like that's more for like casual gamers. That's not as direct with other people. But I will say this, the echolocation thing, like tracing your location 13 times a second, or a minute, sorry, is ridiculous. And I think that it's a little bit overboard, and they need to tell us what they're doing with it. And it's an unprecedented standard to just have us that and not tell us what we're doing with our information. But anyway, we were going to go to break. But when we come back, we'll talk about some of our favorite covers in all of video game history. Stick around.
Yeah.
Hello.
Welcome back to the Herd. So we were talking the other day about how good some movie posters are and how iconic and impactful they are in the movie landscape. So I thought to myself, video game covers have the exact same impact, so why don't we talk about them as much?
Right. So we'll look at some of our favorites and discuss if we agree on the others' taste. So Seamus, you have the first one. Let's go ahead.
My first one is going to be The Last of Us. Developed by Naughty Dog and published by PlayStation, The Last of Us is an amazing post-apocalyptic world, and the cover details that perfectly, with the nice bold white text on the left side and the entire dystopian landscape shown perfectly throughout the cover, as well as the two main characters of the game. I think that The Last of Us really does a good job of encapsulating what the game's about and setting a good tone before you even open the case. I think The Last of Us honestly should be up there with not only some of the best games I ever played, but one of the best artwork.
Yeah, I think the measurement of a good game cover is that it doesn't, it either hides just enough or tells you just enough about your game, and this does that. I mean, I've never played the first Last of Us, so I am excited to get into that because it's on sale. But I know exactly what this is about, and I can get an idea of what the characters are, and I'm into that game. I just haven't had a chance or opportunity to play it. So.
Well, I look forward to you playing it because it's fantastic.
I am excited.
That game is great. But speaking of classics, what's your first cover game?
Staying in the realm of PlayStation, my first pick is the original Kingdom Hearts. I got to be honest with you guys, this is one of my favorite video game series of all time, but this is definitely the best cover in the entire series. It really wraps up and encapsulates every main character that we get to fall in love with in the beginning and then move through for the rest of the series. And that everything in that is iconic. That moon goes through every single episode. The Keyblade, all of these other characters that kind of come in from Final Fantasy. It's perfectly displays every character and the kind of relationship that they all have, with Sora on top looking ahead off into nothingness. I think this is great, and it sets the tone, and it kind of is the same style of all the other covers of the game.
What I really like about this cover, like you're right, it does set the precedent moving forward for the covers, but I love how it's very melancholic, and it's very like kind of sad in a sense, which is emulated in the story.
Yeah.
So right there, like I said, the tone is met.
Yes.
And that's really good for when you're looking for like, oh, maybe I want to play like kind of a more serious game, and then you pick up Kingdom Hearts.
Melancholic is an incredible word for this.
Yeah.
Because if you ever, for all the sad boys out there, if you're ever looking to really get into sad boy hours, the score for the Kingdom Hearts soundtrack is quintessential melancholy, and it matches. And the cover matches that tone exactly.
I heard that was a good fruit.
Yeah. Okay. What's your next one?
My favorite of all time, by far, has to be Portal 2.
Bong.
One of my favorite games of all time, probably the best best puzzle game ever made. Portal 2's cover really shows why, like, what you're going to expect from the game, especially the new stuff like the co-op with Peabody and Atlas right there, and really just shows how much like fun and kind of goofy the game is. But then you buy it and it's super dark, and you're like, why, GLaDOS, are you doing this?
Yeah.
And you learn, and it's crazy, and the game's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love it, and the artwork matches that perfectly.
I would agree with this being the best puzzle game of all time. I'm huge into puzzle games. Like, that's my aesthetic. And Peabody and Atlas, love it. Very much a fan. But there's a solo mode in this, and you wouldn't even know about it, right? But I don't know what you're laughing at. But
aesthetic is puzzle game?
Yes, that's my whole life's aesthetic is confusion and getting through it. So puzzle game is the equivalent of that. You wouldn't even know that there's a solo mode in that game because of the two characters on the front. But the solo mode with that interaction with GLaDOS almost doesn't matter because the Peabody and Atlas have the same relationship, but it's much more whimsical. But it exists in this super dark world that like I love it so much.
Speaking of whimsical, super dark worlds, what is your favorite cover
my
of all time?
My favorite of all time is probably my favorite game of all time. I played this all the time growing up, and it is The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker for the GameCube. If you look here, you're wondering why I picked it. It's not super vibrant. That sepia tone is supposed to be like the canvas that like all of the Zelda covers are on, because it's supposed to be written on the scroll and it's this legend and it's a blank canvas that you get to write on. But the King of Red Lions is right there. He's your companion through the entirety of the game. I love this cover because it's simplistic, but it, like we said about The Last of Us, it tells you everything that you need to know. It sets it up for you perfectly, and the art style, so like the waves on the bottom, that art design is intrinsic through the entire game. So it works just so well, like that kind of like mix of like Nordic hard angles and smoothness of like ancient Asian like art. Perfect. Like that's exactly what that entire game looks like. So I love this forever. That grammatically made no sense, but if I could make this my wallpaper in my home, I would.
Your wallpaper for life would be...
Yeah, my forever wallpaper, my fat head, my permanent fat head for my home would be the art style of The Wind Waker.
Now, I never played any of the Zelda games, and we're going to get to that eventually.
Weak, yeah.
Yeah, but I think just based on your passion for Wind Waker, I think that would definitely be high up there.
So we do have one that we kind of met in the middle on, and we thought was great, and it was a game that came out in the past 365 days, and it's the most recent installment of God of War. Look at that. Boom. Kratos, Atreus, mountains, a boat. What more do you want out of a game cover?
I really love the God of War game cover because it does a fantastic job of showing you not only the objective of the game of getting to the mountain, but how you're going to do it and who you're going to do it with.
Yeah.
And that is so important to game covers, is just understanding, conveying to your audience what needs to be conveyed and why should you buy this game. Why would I buy this? Because Kratos has a giant axe now. That's awesome. Why wouldn't you want that? Because he's on a boat with a little kid, and you need to learn who that kid is and why there's a mountain.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Please specify who the child is, or you just like make one of the selling points that he's on a boat with a child.
Yeah, it's his son.
Real quick shot at Chris Sanudo. None of these covers have a bunch of characters on it, so Smash is a terrible cover. Coming up here on the Digital Ranch, we're going to give you all our top 5 monsters in video games of all time, because it's spooky season, baby. Come back after this. We're going to give you some choring done in the meantime. How are you now?
Good, and you?
Not so bad. All right, it's officially spooky season, and we want to give you another top 5. So the Nerd Herdman, us, present to you all our top 5 monsters in video games. Seamus, why don't you start us off, big guy?
All right, I'm going to start it off as usual. Number 5, we got the Big Daddies from BioShock. What an absolute classic. You can't go wrong with them. Number 4, Vladimir Makarov. Not the typical monster, but my gosh, what he does. Number 3, an absolute classic, the head crabs from Half-Life. Number 2, one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen in a game. Not because it looks scary, because it will set you back probably 17 hours. The Creepers from Minecraft. And number 1, the Armored Minotaur from God of War. Now, I got to explain this one a little bit. The Minotaur in God of War, the first one, I checked my save files. It took me a year and a month to beat him. And I have never been haunted by something so terribly in my life. Just that flaming mouth that he had. Oh, I can't. He keeps me up at night.
The creeper pick is interesting to me, because I didn't know that you were a Minecraft person.
I've spent an amount of time in Minecraft that would make people shudder.
No. Also, 2 characters from BioShock. I like that. Or no, Bio is different. Okay, anyway, it's Spooky Dan time. Give him a full screen. So number 5, right off the bat, we're going with the Devil from Cuphead. I want to let you know that it's not really a monster, but it's very good. I like that a lot. Smokers from Left 4 Dead have haunted me forever. Stormbird from Horizon Zero Dawn. Yes, it is a machine, but it is a machine monster. Revenants from God of War. I have had issues with them my entire time playing that. and the Flood from the Halo series, probably the most iconic monster from any video game of my childhood because Halo dominated my childhood. Interesting picks all around.
Yeah, I would say so. The Revenants are particularly interesting to me because how broken they are in that game.
Dude.
It is so unfair. Like, you can freeze people in God of War, but not them. And they're the ones that like you need to freeze because they can just teleport out of hits.
Yeah.
And I hate it.
Yeah, but you
I hate it so much.
You can't freeze them, but you can electrocute them for some reason because you can use the arrows. But
Yeah.
The backstory on them, if you read the bios or whatever of like how they became what they are, it's heartbreaking. It's terrible.
Is it like the Big Daddies kind of deal?
Kind of. It's more like the only thing I can come up with in my mind right now is Jafar. How Jafar is just like, I'm gonna be a bad guy. I'm gonna sell my soul. I'm gonna be a bad guy for unlimited power. Kind of like that. But I liked the Armored Minotaur pick. I really do. I totally forgot about that first God of War game.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
All right, so this was a short block. We got a longer block when we come back because we're gonna do our last live, our final live, one last thing. So we'll be right back to talk about those final lives.
Yeah, Dan got crimes committed against him.
That's
crazy.
right.
Crazy.
Welcome back to the Nerd Herd, and it's time to give us all we got. Final lives, only energy. All right, so I'm going to start. I got to realize that when Seamus said I had a crime committed against me, I do. Meet me on camera 3, please. All right, this past weekend, I was robbed. Not in person, online. Someone hacked my PlayStation account and spent over $700 on my card on Just Games. I canceled my card when I found out, and the moment I found out, that Sunday morning, I called Chase, and they accommodated right away. Then I called PlayStation. Weren't open on a weekend. So what if I told you that my MacBook got hacked into and they spent time and X amount of money on my account buying like excessive games or whatever, right? And they used my information the same way. Then I called Apple support line and then I got voicemail and then hung up on, right? Because they aren't open in those hours of operation. Crazy, right? Yeah. It is. It's a multi-billion-dollar company who handles transactions and has been known to have vulnerable servers. Is closed on the weekend? I had to wait till you guys were available to fix the problem, which, by the way, was 2:30 on a Monday. A day after, like basically a day and a half after. I got my money back and my account's okay, but this isn't okay. I have to be this guy, but I've never had this issue with Microsoft, not a single time. So now I'm gonna be a lot less at ease when I play my PlayStation, and it's only Sony's fault. And by the way, you guys said for me to check the chat rooms, like the live chat, wasn't open. You sent me to another website. That didn't work either. They sent me an email the day after, it's like, would you still like to chat? No, I wanna get rid of my PlayStation now, but I got games on it. I don't know what to do. I was robbed. And then I was robbed of time by Sony, the company who let me get robbed.
As a longtime PlayStation fan, I apologize, but this is nothing new.
I know.
But I will say, like I was a huge PlayStation fan when I was a kid, and I got to play in the PlayStation 3 when that huge hack happened, where they just took PSN down for months. And I was terrified, but at least it got me to my favorite game, Infamous.
Okay, what's your final life?
But for my final life, I'm going to waste it beating a dead horse. I know I'm not the first one to say this, and I won't be the last until something changes, but let's be real, they won't. What I am so eloquently speaking of is, course, Valve's inability to make a new game. Gabe and all our pals behind great games such as Half-Life, Portal, Left 4 Dead, Team Fortress, Counter-Strike, and Dota need to learn just basic math. Yeah, they're an industry revolutionizing masterpieces of art, but why on God's great earth can they not count to 3? 3, I will personally pay for all of you to learn how to count just so I can get a new installment of some of my favorite games. Long gone are the days that you helped usher in of expert craftsmanship in gaming, but your return to the industry would help greatly. We need developers and publishers who care about gamers, who see us as fans looking for an awesome experience to knock our socks off, not our wallets out of our pockets. Valve, hear our plea. Come back to us. I emptily promise until the cows come home that we will not complain about how Half-Life 3 is when it comes out. I just have to play it. I'm so sorry. I realized it after I said it.
All right, we'll fix that in post if we can get it to post. This is my assistant OP director, by the way. Cool. So we're a little under on time, so I'm just going to chastise him. I'm going to chastise him a little bit. While I agree with everything that he said, other than the part that we're going to dip to 0 decibels on, wow, that threw a whole wrench in everything. All right, so listen. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. All right, so Half-Life 3, not really the thing that I'm focused on. What I am focused on is Left 4 Dead and all the other things that they were involved in, the Orange Box, Team Fortress, stuff like that, right? So while we have to wait for this, while we have to wait for this to, while we have to wait for this to get fixed, and we have to wait for. We have to wait for things to be accommodated for and brought back. What sucks more is that they're making card games. They're not even making games. They're not doing anything useful. And Steam is a land heap. Like, it's just nothing. Gabe has thrown garbage games in there for as long as I can remember. The only game of value to me has been Civ. And Civ is just for like 8 people.
Not Valve.
No, I know, but Steam is run by like essentially the same people, right?
2K?
Yes. Huh?
I think 2K makes Civ. 2K
Yeah,
games?
Yes, okay. I wasn't talking about
I'm
Civ
talking about Valve
specifically.
making
I was
games.
talking about how the Valve team
Not
is more
important.
focused on the wasteland that is
The only
Steam.
thing that's important is that the last game they made was Artifact, which is what my career here is going to turn into.
I think what's
after
more
Wednesday.
important right now is that you apologize to the viewing public.
I
Can we
do
get that on
apologize.
2, please?
I do apologize. My foul mouth will be washed out with all the soap. Every soap.
Okay. So, as we prepare the dungeon for Seamus,
Yeah.
I want to thank you guys for watching on this impromptu episode of NerdHerd. As for everybody else in the room, we want to thank you for watching and tuning in. For all the juggalos and juggalettes, that one's for you.
Boop, boop.